Welcome to the Black Gay History Channel. Please share this video and subscribe to this channel for more captivating content. Arabian Nights is the 1974 East African and Middle Eastern film directed by gay Italian director Pier Pasolini. In a modern retelling of several of the stories of the 1001 Nights, the medieval collection of Arabic folklore, which has become world-renowned for its proliferation of Arabic and Middle Eastern culture. When I began watching this movie, I had no idea that I would see overt gay themes in and throughout many of the storylines, because when I hear about gay films in Africa, this film has never come up. So imagine my surprise when I see that this film was not only incredibly sexual throughout many of its stories. Many of the male characters in these series openly express their adoration for beautiful young men. But this truly shouldn't surprise me because I didn't know till recently that the original Arabian Nights also has many poems and stories that have homoerotic storylines as well. European movies, especially Italian, were renowned for being very sexually explicit with lots of nudity, and this film is no different. I don't think I've seen this many male appendages in one movie before. They were everywhere. I also think what's incredibly important in these queer scenes is that many of the men were Black East African men. Arabian Nights was filmed in several locations, including Nepal, Yemen, Iran, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, which means that this movie is 100% a part of gay African cinematic history. Though there are many love stories and sex scenes between men and women in this film. In the first 15 minutes of this film, there's an incredible scene where an older Ethiopian royal poet named Suim calls on a bunch of young men to tell them how beautiful they are, and he recites poetry to them. This is significant history because the poetry that he's reciting is by medieval Arabic poet Abu Nuwas, who is renowned as a bisexual Arabic poet whose work is part of the original Arabian Nights stories. He recites a poem to the young men saying, "The greatest joy is a youthful drinker with handsome young boys as companions, and when he desires to be kissed by the other, this one offers his mouth to be kissed." End quote. He then says he wants to go back to his tent, give them food and wine, and then he can, quote, give them pleasure, and if they wish, give him pleasure. I truly can't believe that I'm just now hearing of this movie and that it isn't cited more in Black queer history and films. The young men then say it will please, and they all go back to his tent, get naked and laugh as they play a little game of slap and tickle. This is incredibly epic that in a film about sexuality in East Africa, a cultural leader like the poet character was celebrating his bisexuality. This also tells me that decades ago, homophobia was likely not as entrenched in East African culture, that there likely has been a regression of gay rights and expression in more recent years. There are other scenes in this movie that are incredibly queer, like gender bending and a vicious murder that seem to me like a metaphor for abuse. In one scene, a sailor who is haunted by a prophecy that he will unalive a young prince ends up finding the prince's hidden underground home on the beach, befriends and laughs with and even bathes with him, then falls asleep with the young boy and kills him in his sleep. I may be misinterpreting this scene, but this scene did seem like some sort of metaphor for abuse, but I could be wrong. In another scene, an Ethiopian princess turned captured slave, Zumarude, is taken away from her lover, Nuruddin, and throughout the movie, the two try to find each other again, but get into trouble on their journey. Zumarude, dressed as a man for safety, encounters a new wealthy kingdom, and upon a technicality, disguised as a man, she must then become the new king of this city or be killed. The queer-coded parts of this story are not only that Zumarude plays the part of a male king, her bride-to-be eventually learns her secret, but in the original Arabian Nights story, she starts a relationship with her wife as well. In another scene, Zumarude's husband has found her kingdom but doesn't know she's there, and he is at a dinner table with many local men. But even as Nuruddin is eating with the other men, it's clear the men he's eating with also think he's beautiful, looking at him adoringly, mentioning that the king may have a tendency or attraction to men, saying, quote, "It is not surprising that maybe our king prefers melon to the pomegranate," which was clearly a metaphor for the king being gay. But of course, they don't actually know the king is a bisexual woman. The guards capture Nuruddin, and the men even comment that the king may like him, and that they think he's beautiful too. So not only were the local men of this kingdom lusting over Nuruddin, they wouldn't even be surprised if their king wanted him. That says a lot about gay attraction in the Middle East in this time period. Nuruddin is captured by the guards, and the king orders the guards to take him to the king's chambers where they can be alone. Deciding to toy with her actual husband, Zumarude demands that Nuruddin be the king's lover and offer up his cakes. Though Nuruddin clearly doesn't want to, he still wants to stay alive and find his wife, so on pain of death, he gets on the bed, cakes up, and pulls down his pants and waits for the inevitable. I gagged when he asked the king to not hurt him too much. But finally, Zumarude reveals her true self, and the two embrace in love and happiness. And that's the end of the film. The fact that this film was so gay back in the 1970s and was filmed in multiple African and Middle Eastern countries shows that back in the day, gay intimacy was much more tolerated, and it's possible that some cultures have actually regressed on this topic in recent years. But now here you have another African film to add to the list of groundbreaking African queer films. For my East African watchers, I must know, have you heard of This Tale of Arabian Nights and this movie and its gay characters and themes? Sound off in the comments.